Namaste. Today we are going to study the concept of yagna. In the Bhagavad Gita studies which we have taken up, this is a very important concept. This was a vidhi and it was the yoga of the Vedic age, the spirit of yagna. So in the Bhagavad Gita, you will find Lord Krishna telling Arjuna again and again that work done in the spirit of yagna is detached action. It will lead to the highest. So what is this spirit of yagna? What is the concept behind yagna? Yagna, the actual fire sacrifice as it is called. What was it symbolic of? All this we will be studying. Yagna comes from the dhatu yaj, which itself means to sacrifice or to pour out, to pour oblations. Into what? Into the fire. So you must have seen yagnas in some form. Today the modern home, which is performed even in homes. So you have so many types of homes, Ganesh home. Before many major festivals, you have the homa fire lit. So it is a modern version of the Vedic yagnas. So what is the meaning of this yagna? See, in the Vedic age, there were no temples as they are today. Temples were built up in the post-Vedic age. So about 5,000, 6,000 years back, the rishis understood certain basic principles of universal life and they converted that into symbology, into means of performing certain rites, certain actions, so as to internalize or bring into our everyday lives those cosmic principles of life. So yagna was born like that. The rishis understood that the very nature of life is unitary. The very essence of life is one unitary whole. And the expression of life is interconnected. So in order to reinforce this idea into us, they invented the great symbolism of the yagna fire. One pours oblations into the yagna fire of things which one has grown, like for example grains, oil, ghee, butter, even seeds like til. So all these oblations are poured as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And the fire is supposed to be the vahni, the carrier of these offerings or oblations to the Supreme. So the most common offering is that of ghee and leaves and also seeds like til, sesame seeds, all these are used. So this was the understanding that the offering made into the yagna fire will reach the Supreme Brahman and the fire is the carrier. That's why it was called vahni, one who carries these oblations to the Supreme Lord. Now, how does this symbolize the universal law of life? You see, offering, oblation itself meant that I have taken so much from life and I have to give back in some form. I have to give it back in some form. That is why I offer. So this is when you perform a nishkam yagna. It is just to reinforce the idea of the interconnectedness of life, a healthy exchange between the individual and the cosmos. I have taken so much from life, I offer back. Oh Lord, I offer it to you in this form. Please accept it. So in order to condition into our minds the idea of giving, offering, oblation, self-dedication, the yagna ritual was invented. It symbolizes a very great idea. Please understand this. The nature of life is interconnectedness. No man is an island. We live by what others provide. And everything, almost everything in your life has been generated by the labors of others. Not just human beings. This entire planet is a huge ecosystem which lives by exchange between the individual and the cosmos. So, to acknowledge this exchange and to replenish what we draw from life, to rejuvenate life. Thus, the yagna was invented. It was a rite, a ritual which was conducted in order to pour out one's devotional offering for what one has received in life and towards the Supreme. So this is the meaning of the yagna ritual. It was always a kama yagna, nishkama yagna. It was a means to give back into universal life. That is why the swaha, I offer into the fire to the Supreme Lord what He has given me in this life. The rishis clearly understood that everything in life is cyclic. You see, even today in science you study it, isn't it? The carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the Krebs cycle for your energies, all energy is circulated cyclically. So the individual also is maintained. How are we maintained? By what we draw from the outside. And even the simple breathing apparatus. You see, because the trees are giving out oxygen, that we are able to take it. So half of your being is right there. It's a natural interconnectedness. So it must be a natural exchange between the external and the internal. The body is just like a semi-permeable membrane which facilitates this flow. When you restrict that flow by considering yourself to be a solid individual, it is nothing but egoism. This is how it was seen. So in order to overcome these tendencies of pride, arrogance, egoism, this kind of a symbolism was invented, ritual was invented, where you pour oblations heartily, wholeheartedly towards the Supreme Lord. And whatever you have to offer, it is meant for universal life. I have taken from life, I give back, I give back. That is the spirit of yajna. So today we have a very diluted version of that in the form of the homa fires in so many houses, for so many kinds of purposes they are done. Many times it is a sakam yajna which is done nowadays, isn't it? Even in the Vedic times it had already started. The Putra Kameshti Yajna, the Rajasuya Yajna, all these were Sakama Yajnas, which means for a particular purpose the Yajna is being performed. But the original Vedic idea was this. It is symbolic of your participation in the cosmic Yajna that is going on and your desire to rejuvenate life, revive and renew life and pay for what you have received from life. That was the actual meaning behind the yajna fires. So it is symbolic of rhythm. Rhythm is a beautiful Sanskrit word which finds a lot of use in the Vedic literature for indicating harmony in universal life. The rhythm of life, you can say. So in order to harmonize with that rhythm, that is why yajna. It is a very beautiful way of becoming one with universal life and replenishing life at every step in your life. And you can do these sacrifices through gifts. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, all this comes. It's not just the offerings of grain or ghee. You can do it through gifts. You can do it through penance. You can do it through yoga. You can even do it through knowledge. All these are also called yajnas in the Bhagavad Gita. So whatever you have to give, it should be given freely. It should be given respectfully. The yajna fire was symbolic of that. So how exactly it would take place? You see, there are very specific requirements for yajna fires. So there were definite priests who used to perform definite tasks in the yajna, very specific tasks. So you had the yajna vidhi and the priests who were the 4 types of priests. I'll just give you a general idea of the Vedic yajna. The 4 types of priests were called, the first one was called Hota or Hotri, which means one who chanted the mantras of the Rig Veda. Each of these priests were well versed in one of the Vedas. Then the Advaryu, who was also a priest, he would prepare the altar for the yajna and the actual place, the specific measurements and the fire, how it would be lit, getting the sacrificial wood, all of this was his work. And then there was the Udgata, who was the chanter of the Samaveda hymns, which are very important hymns chanted during the yagna. And the actual performer of the yagna, who was answerable to the Yajman, the one who was performing the yagna, was called Brahma. The actual person who performed the yagna, that priest was called the Brahma priest. So all together, they would perform the yagnas. And when these yagnas, later on, they became integrated with the upasana techniques, the meditation techniques developed in the Vedic age. So then it was called Yagnopasana, which means with every upasana, a yagna also was performed in order to reinforce into oneself and all around the sacrificial nature of life, the interconnectedness of all life. So I pour myself. Kindly accept this offering, O Almighty. This was the kind of prayer for these yagnas. Later on, it became Angava Baddha Upasana techniques, which means so many other types of rites and rituals and meditation techniques got added on to this Yagnopasanas. And then gradually there were Sakama Yagnas, as I told you. And today it has condensed into the modern Homa fires. But the spirit behind Yagna, this is something we must really grasp. That is why the importance being given to Yagna in the Bhagavad Gita. That if you perform Yagna with this spirit, acknowledging the fact that you are part and parcel of the cosmic Yagna of the divine, which is constantly going on, which is responsible for maintaining this planet as it is today, which is responsible for life, then you will remain in tune with life. You will align yourself to cosmic life, to the will of God. And this is the way to move forward in the spiritual path. That is why the word yagna has been used again and again in the Bhagavad Gita. Today we have this popular concept of Pancha Mahayagnas. The source of this again is the Vedic yagna rite. I hope you have heard of the Pancha Mahayagnas. See, 5 types of yagnas are supposed to be mandatory for Hindus to follow. What are these yagnas? These Pancha Mahayagnas are not mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, but they are derived from the Vedic yagnas. So, what are these Pancha Mahayagnas? It is called Deva Yagna, Pitra Yagna, Nra Yagna, Rishi Yagna, and Bhuta Yagna. All these yagnas have an external and an internal aspect. For example, the Deva Yagna is the external aspect is an actual rite, an actual homa lit with oblations poured to the gods. But the internal aspect of it is where you deeply pay homage to the divine forces in your life. So it's a way of acknowledging the presence of divinity in your life and paying your homage to it. Then Pitra Yagna. Again, the popular external aspect of it is offering pindas to the Pitris. Pitris are the mains, or you can say the ancestral souls who are responsible for the creation of your personality as it is today. So the external aspect of this yagna was again giving offerings in the form of pindas, pindadan it is called. Even tarpan is a form of giving, offering water to departed ancestors. These are the external aspects of this yagna. The internal aspect is again acknowledging their contribution in your lives and respecting it for who you are today. So all this will only bring a positive state of mind. Please see this. Then similarly, there is Nra Yagna, which means, the external aspect of this yagna is service activities provided to mankind. And the internal aspect is again the feeling of kinship, oneness with all of humanity. This should be part and parcel of our mindset, isn't it? Today, when we see all these exclusive forces and divisive forces in the world, you will understand the importance of the spirit of yagna. It's so relevant to the modern world. So this was the Nri Yagna. And then the Rishi Yagna is when you externally, again, it was in the form of lighting a homa fire and pouring oblations to the great rishis, whose lineages have been responsible for our family systems of today. Isn't it? We all consider ourselves to be derived from that source. So acknowledging this in the form of yajna. And the internal aspect was again the deep respect for their teachings and studying the scriptures systematically, methodically, on an everyday basis so as to imbibe their knowledge. This was the internal aspect of the Nri Yajna and the Rishi Yajna. And then the Bhuta Yajna is again serving all beings on earth. It includes animals, plants, feeling a sense of kinship, of a fellowship with every form of life, including the inanimate forms. You see, the Pancha Mahabhutas, they are responsible for the creation of your own body, isn't it? Your body is a collection of the soil, water, air, all this fire, the space, all these elements put together. So you have a natural kinship with nature, with Prakriti. So acknowledging this and serving all living beings and internally, literally worshipping all living beings by providing for them. If this we can do, then it is a observance of this yajna spirit in our everyday lives. That is why this Pancha Mahayajnas were instituted. But it is really unfortunate that many people are totally disconnected from this spirit in the modern world. The more we imbibe this, whether you perform the rite every day or not, but to imbibe this spirit and live by that itself would be a great contribution to the world. It will make us truly all-accepting and very broad and inclusive in spirit and outlook. So if we only keep teaching our children to be competitive and right-oriented and not duty-oriented, not service-oriented, then, actually we are in a sense destroying their future and also the future of the planet. So when children imbibe these ideas at a young age, naturally the spirit behind yajna, the spirit of loka sangraha, that they are in dynamic contact with the universal whole and they are not little individuals in themselves. This spirit will naturally come in their thought, in their behavior, in their work, in their actions. It will naturally come in. They will work for the benefit of others. So instilling this sanskar is very, very important in the modern age. The Bhagavad Gita is constantly giving us this refrain, Yajnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If you perform action in the spirit of yajna, it will never bind you. And then it also speaks of Nayam lokosti ayajnasya kutonya kurusattama. There is no realm for the one who does not have the spirit of yajna, which means there is no future if you don't have this spirit. You see, this is all coming so true in the present times, isn't it? Why are we having this huge climate summit? Why have we today become conscious of this fact that the entire planet requires our sensitivity? Because we have been systematically exploiting natural resources. Today we have understood to what extent we are trampling upon the natural laws of life. And unless we become sensitive, we will not become sensible. It is only through this sensitivity that we will be able to maintain the ecosystems, natural ecosystems of the planet. And that is the only way we can also survive. Because every little worm, every insect, every species of flora and fauna is responsible for our survival. And only when we allow them to survive in their natural habitat will we remain happy. This fundamental law, not as a kind of subject ecology, not like that. This is the fundamental basis of life. Unless this is instilled into our children, we don't know what the future of the planet will be like. So the spirit of yajna, the all-encompassing spirit of yajna, as it was seen by the Vedic rishis, it is very important to bring this back. If you see in the lives of all the great personalities of our own culture, you will find this spirit very dominant. Look at the life of Sri Sarada Devi. It is actually the spirit of yajna that she embodies. She always wholeheartedly and with great joy served others. Isn't this the spirit of yajna? She was always the giver. She was always the contributor. And not in a sense of, well, what will I get out of it? She was always duty conscious. This is the spirit of yajna. To the extent we allow this to come into our everyday lives, our minds will be happier, because this is the law of life. And when we only keep asking, what will I get out of it? That's the ego, please understand, coming in. When you identify only with the body and mind, the ego kicks in a big way, and it will pervert your intelligence. So, yajna is the ability to see the world and the universe functioning without the intervention of the ego. You will understand life is a healthy exchange between the individual and the cosmos. To keep this exchange, to maintain this flow, the spirit of yajna is required. And that is why the yajna rite was invented. The ritual was invented. So I hope what they wanted us to reinforce into our lives, we are able to do that through our understanding today. And even if we do not perform these rites every day, the spirit of yajna should pervade our life. Then we would have understood something of the Bhagavad Gita. So let us pray that this comes into our lives. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.